Sony's newest and largest extra bass speaker is the Sony GTK-XB90. This is perhaps the largest portable Bluetooth speaker on the market right now. The XB90 even dwarfs its little brother, the Sony XB60. So what does the size difference between these two speakers mean? We're about to find out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to learn more about the Sony XB60, tap here after you're done watching this video. And there will be a sound test at the end of this video too. Personally, I like to group the Sony XB60 and the XB90 together like I do the Sony XB30 and the XB40. They share very similar designs and only have slight performance differences between them. The Sony XB90 currently retails for $449.99 and the smaller XB60 retails for $349.99. That's a $100 price difference. If you want to pick either of these speakers up, I'll have links in the description below and I'll keep them updated so you can get the best deal possible. Sony speakers routinely go on sale, so you might get lucky. The Sony XB90 uses the same materials as the Sony XB60 and the older Sony XB7. The majority of the body is made out of textured hard plastic, and on the back there's some wood paneling. There are rubber pads on the bottom and on its side so you can stand the speaker upright or lay it flat. And there are handles on either side that make transporting this behemoth of a speaker just a little easier. Just like all other Sony extra bass speakers, the XB90 has a metal grille in the front and a built-in light feature. The XB90 has a height of 29.1 inches, a width of 15.9 inches, and a depth of 16.3 inches, and it weighs in at 36.5 pounds. Or for my international people, this speaker is 0.74 meters by 0.4 meters by 0.41 meters respectively, and it weighs in at 16.56 kilos. And a good chunk of that weight is due to the rechargeable battery. It takes a big battery to power this hulk of a speaker. Overall, the XB90 is 3 times as big and weighs twice as much as the XB60. And for those wondering, no, neither of these speakers are waterproof, so don't get them wet or else you're going to be out a good chunk of money. Speaker setup on the Sony XB90 is slightly bigger and different than the Sony XB60. The Sony XB90 has dual 180mm or 7-inch woofers and 3 60mm or 2.36-inch tweeters. But at any given moment, you're only using 2 of those 3 tweeters. When the speaker's upright, you're using the top 2 tweeters, but when the speaker's laid flat, you're using the 2 tweeters on the side. The light feature on the Sony XB90 is also a little different than the one on the XB60. You still get the same full color ring around the speaker and strobe lights on the top and bottom, but the XB90 also has multicolor lights that illuminate the woofers in different colors, whereas on the XB60, the woofers only light up white, and there's also infinity mirrors built in into the top and bottom. Overall, the light feature on the XB90 is a little more intricate than the one on the XB60. On the top of the speakers, you'll see there's your power button, volume control buttons, and thankfully they added a play pause button. And this is a big deal because on the XB7 there was no play pause button, so if your phone or the included remote wasn't near you, you couldn't control your music playback. And for those wondering, the XB60 or the XB90 don't have an included controller. And honestly, I don't care. And you'll also find other buttons like the function button to cycle between your audio sources and the add and party chain button. You can also use the party chain button to turn off the light feature by pressing and holding. If you have 2 Sony XB90s, you can pair them together and have them play in stereo mode, or if you have other XB speakers like the XB30, XB40, or the slightly smaller XB60, you can pair up to 10 speakers together and have them all play in sync. And thankfully, Sony streamlined the pairing process on the XB60 and XB90. All you have to do is press the party chain button on each speaker and you're done. It's just like JBL speakers. A little further up, you'll also see a slit where you can rest your phone or tablet, and even more up, you'll find an NFC touch point. On the back of the speaker, you'll find RCA ports so you can daisy chain more speakers together, a USB port, and a mic input. But Sony did not include a 3.5mm audio jack, which is a bummer. Through the USB port, you can charge your own phone and play MP3, WMA, and WA files off of most devices. But you can't play music through the USB port when using an Apple device, so you're stuck with only a Bluetooth connection. But like I've said in the past, Sony does a really good job of having a really clear wireless audio connection on both their speakers and headphones. So personally, I don't really need an audio jack on the XB90, but I know for some certain users, it might be a must-have. When it comes to tech specs, both the Sony XB90 and XB60 are using Bluetooth 4.2 and can be paired up to 3 devices at the same time. And you've got a wireless range of around 40 feet with direct line of sight on either of them. And they also do a really good job of keeping a solid connection through multiple walls. Concerning battery life, Sony claims the XB90 is good for 16 hours of playback time. And technically that is true if you use the speaker at a low volume and with the light feature turned off. But real-world battery life with the Sony XB90 with a volume at a moderate level and with the light feature turned on, I've averaged about 9 hours of playback time, which is 2 hours more than the real-world battery life of the XB60 under the same circumstances. But if you play music on the XB90 at full volume, you'll get about 4 hours of playback time, which is the same as the XB60 at full volume. So if you take either of these speakers somewhere, remember to pack the power cord. New to the XB60 and XB90 is stamina mode, and basically what it does is that it reduces the output of the speakers. So there won't be as much bass, they won't get as loud, and the sound isn't as crisp, but you'll be able to squeeze out about 2 more hours of playback time. And thankfully, Sony got rid of the please charge feature that was on the XB40 and the XB30. When the battery on the XB60 or XB90 get below 20%, it'll simply say please charge and flash a few times, and that's it. But it will no longer nag you to put it back on the charger or limit the volume like the XB40 or the XB30. And for those wondering, if you press and hold the stamina button, the speaker will tell you its current battery percentage. Just like the XB60, the XB90 is all about loudness and bass. There's a lot of sub bass, you're gonna feel it in your chest, and personally, I love it. And concerning sound quality, both the XB60 and XB90 sound the same. As in, the XB90 doesn't have the widest soundstage, instrument separation isn't the best, and the vocals do tend to get lost at times. But I would still recommend it for hip-hop and EDM, and that's what Sony's going for with this speaker. But the biggest difference between the XB60 and the XB90 is obviously going to be loudness. At max volume, the XB60 likes to hover in the mid 80 decibels range, while at max volume, the XB90 likes to hover in the low to mid 90s range. And although it might not seem like much, in person, the loudness difference is very noticeable. And at max volume, neither of these two speakers suffer from too much sound distortion at all, which was an issue with the XB7. Both the Sony XB90 and XB60 connect to Sony's Music Center app, and like I've said in the past, it only works properly half the time. Through the app, you can adjust the EQ of either of these speakers. You can either select from a few pre-made EQs, or you can even make your own. Or you can just use Sony's Clear Audio Plus setting, which will automatically adjust the EQ of the speakers depending on what you're listening to. And through the Music Center app, you can also pick from a few different illumination settings. You can choose from Rave, Chill, or Rave mode without the strobe lights, Hot where only reds and oranges will flash, Cool where only blues and greens will flash, there's Strobe, and there's also a few calm options as well. You can also use Sony's Fiestable app to customize the light feature after you've selected a light mode. So if you want to have the speaker flash red in strobe mode, Fiestable can make that happen. But like I've said before, I feel Sony's app for the XB60 and XB90 should look more like the 1000XM2 headphones. It's cleaner and it's easier to get to each setting quicker. Although the XB60 and XB90 don't have the annoying please charge feature like the XB30 and XB40, both the XB60 and XB90 have a quirk that I hate. Whenever you plug either of these speakers to charge, even though they are turned off, the speakers will go into demo mode and cycle through the light modes. So then you have to wait a few seconds and then press and hold the party chain button to turn off demo mode. If I have the speakers off, I want it completely turned off. I don't know why Sony does things like this. Just like the Sony XB60, the XB90 also has a built-in microphone. Right now, I'm standing about 5 feet away, and personally, I don't think the microphone sounds that good, but it does get the job done. But this audio clip is being recorded by the microphone on the XB90, so you can be the judge of that. So to wrap things up, the Sony XB90 is a good option if you regularly host parties. Although it does have a built-in battery, don't expect it to last the whole length of your get-together, especially if you've got it set at max volume. If you're considering either of these speakers for personal use, I would recommend you go with the Sony XB60. It's big enough that it gets pretty loud and there's enough wall-shaking bass to keep a bass head happy, but it's still small enough that transporting it to other places isn't as much of a hassle as the Sony XB90. I think the XB90 is overkill for personal use, but I think Sony hit gold with the XB60. Personally, I just really like the Sony XB60. And here's the sound test. I'm going to cycle through some speakers of the same size, and as always, all of these speakers will be playing at the same decibel level, streaming from the same device and at the same distance away from the same microphone, so hopefully the only difference is sound quality.
like satellites cast beyond the sky. Leave our faith for another day. Running these horizons, we'll find our way. We'll leave our fate and fade into the night. Just follow me, paradise to say we tried. Say the word, down the earth and around the sun. Say the word and we can say, forget about that better ways. And I know you're leaving, 'cause I know the feeling. The streets stop breathing. Don't wanna say the word, we can run round the earth and around the sun. Say the word and we can say the word.
Hey, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps out more than you realize. For more product reviews and deal alerts, check out jimcaddy.net. If you want to support the channel, pick up a shirt. And I'll catch you next time.